Thank you, and good afternoon, everybody. My name is Brandon Anderson, and I'm the President and CEO of North River Midstream, and it's my honor to introduce the panel on sustainability that will be joining us on stage here in a minute. Quick introduction to North River, if you don't know who we are. We're about a 5-year-old company, but we operate a number of gathering and processing assets throughout the Montney that have been in service for actually about 50 years. So a long-time investor and owner of natural gas operations in the Montney. We actually employ about 400 people in the Peace region. The vast majority of those are skilled operations and craftspeople who actually keep the lights on for us every day. They brave the minus 40 degrees Celsius weather we had last week to maintain safe and reliable operations, for the resource industry and for all of us as users of energy across Canada. So on sustainability, North River's investing in sustainable solutions across our asset base. We are finding solutions to lower emissions intensities, reduce operating costs for our customers, and find ways to sustainably produce and deliver natural gas to the communities and ultimately to projects like we heard about this morning with all the LNG projects that are happening across the West Coast, which is an amazing accomplishment for British Columbia. I was really pleased to hear what Chris had to say about solutions for electrification of some of the more difficult to reach areas, including the North Montney. Solutions like that will allow for sustainable production of natural gas to feed these projects for the long term. When we think about sustainability, it's not just about finding new ways to do things, but it's about producing a sustainable solution across the energy space and across the resource development areas of British Columbia. So with that, I'd like to introduce the panel, and the lead of the panel is going to be Mr. Todd, who's the Chief Operating Officer for the BC Centre of Innovation. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the introduction. And thank you, everyone. So mid-afternoon, everyone's caffeinated, and we're going to have a spirited conversation. As you can see, we have a full panel, but we want this to be a conversation with you as well. So as we mentioned, we will be using the Whova app. Make sure you log in and get your questions in there. I have to start with the very warm welcome from Elder McIntosh and Chief Darlene Logan. This is my first Natural Resources Forum, and I know now why everyone talks so candidly about the relationships and the ability to just make so many connections here and discuss what's possible in the evolution of BC's natural resources sector. So it's fantastic. We're on the stage with some of BC's industry leaders to have a conversation about what they're able to do and what they're doing in developing more energy solutions while decarbonizing and really balancing climate leadership in that space as well. So I'll just give a brief introduction to myself, and then the panelists are going to go through and give an introduction of themselves as well. The Center for Innovation and Clean Energy, hopefully you've heard a few references to us the last few days. We are really on the front end investing in early stage innovation for clean energy and climate solutions. And we're really proud of that. We're really proud to be able to sponsor and invest in some local projects here, which have been referenced as well. So happy to engage further in the time left in the forum, and we'll have open intake for further investment coming the end of the month. So thank you for being part of this. We'll start off with Doug Slater, who's the Vice President for Indigenous Relations and Regulatory Affairs at Fortis. Doug?
Thank you very much, Todd. So happy to be here talking about sustainability and cleaner energy options. For those in the audience that aren't as familiar with Fortis, we are gas, electric, and thermal energy utilities in the province. We serve about 1.2 million customers, 135 different communities, 58 Indigenous communities, and our infrastructure crosses about 150 different traditional territories. So sustainability is really important to us, and it's one thing we believe that we can make a difference. And I'll talk a little bit about our approach to sustainability as we look at, our key role that we play in this province, delivering safe, reliable, resilient, affordable, and increasingly cleaner energy to our customers. So we have sort of four main areas of focus. Obviously, a big one for us is energy transition and environment. We're also very focused on Indigenous and local communities, our people and our culture, and of course, operational performance and adaptation. In that area of energy transition and environment, we came up with our long-term climate plan called our Clean Growth Pathway back in 2019 as the province was working through had worked through the first rendition of Clean BC. And we really looked at it and challenged ourselves to figure out ways that we could lower our customers' emissions and play a positive role in supporting BC's climate goals. So under that framework, we have 4 basic pillars there. The first one is really about delivering lower carbon solutions to our customers through renewable gas and hydrogen. So really looking at replacing what we deliver over time to progressively lower emissions. We're also one of Canada's largest investors in energy efficiency and conservation. So really today, there's no better way to help reduce emissions and help our customers save money than investing in energy efficiency. We just applied this year to the BC Utilities Commission for a new $626 million program over the next 4 years. Provided we get approval and work through that, we'll have spent about $1 billion on energy efficiency, helping improve building envelopes in British Columbia and mechanical equipment for our customers. We're also very focused on the transportation market. So on over-the-road transportation, we're focused on both electric and gas solutions, and the electric solutions more on the EV charging and providing incentives to fleets and multi-use residential customers to help them adopt electric vehicles. On the heavy-duty and medium-duty side, more on helping move off of diesel and onto gaseous, cleaner gaseous fuels. We also see ourselves playing a pretty big role in the marine market as we look at helping marine operators move off of marine gas oils onto cleaner burning LNG in that market. And there's such a huge potential there as having one of Canada's biggest ports in our service area in the Port of Vancouver. Apart from the energy transition, Indigenous and local communities is a big focus for us. I mentioned all of the footprint we have in serving British Columbia. We're very proud to be recognized last year, achieving our Progressive Aboriginal Relations certification at the silver level. Really felt like that helped give a nod to the things that we've done so far, but also helped chart a path for us forward as we think about the ways that we include Indigenous communities in our business, the ways we're partnering, working towards employment, procurement, and those types of things as we invest in our future. And just finally, adaptation. So operational performance and adaptation, another big part of our sustainability framework. It's been mentioned up here several times over the course of the last couple days that our climate's changing, and we've got a lot of electric infrastructure, at least in our service area, that we need to make sure is ready for that change. So we're seeing things like, more extreme weather, both cold and hot. We're seeing more extreme winds, and the types of impacts in our electric infrastructure is more exposed to that. So we're working to put together, plans and investments to make sure that our infrastructure is up for the challenge to continue to deliver reliable power in the face of a changing climate. So, and we can't do any of that without our people and culture. So that's a final pillar. That's where we're really kind of focused on making sure we have the workforce to deliver on that and make sure we continue to provide that key role that we provide in BC.
Thanks, Doug. Thanks. Hi, Shannon. Shannon is the CEO of the Propane Association of Canada.
Yes, thank you. This is my first forum. Very, very appreciative of being here. So propane, you probably don't think about propane. A lot of governments don't think about propane, but here's what I'm going to tell you. It's probably in your backyard. It's in every community across Canada from coast to coast to coast, and pretty much every sector, industrial sector, uses propane. So we're there. It's that old commercial, those that like us a lot. So here's the thing. There's 3 things I want you to know. 1, BC is the largest producer of Canadian propane. 2, we already export 100,000 barrels of propane to Asian markets. We're already displacing those higher carbon fuels. And 3, and I think we all can agree on this, we actually need all energies at the table. It's nice if we could electrify everything. I don't know if we have the time, the resources, or the money to do so, but we have tons of energy options, including propane, that are trying to get to net zero. And I think we all need to look at the energies. There's benefits to every single one, but there's also risks. And there are certain situations where an energy is just ideal.
Thanks, Shannon. Armin Jahangiri is a Senior Vice President and Chief Operating Officer with ARC Resources. Welcome, Armin.
Thanks, Todd, and thanks for the opportunity to speak at this panel. This is a great forum, and we definitely, as an energy producer in the province of British Columbia, appreciate the opportunity to have a conversation about the role of the resource and energy sector in general. Just a quick introduction to ARC Resources. We are Canada's third largest natural gas producer. We roughly produce 7% of natural gas that is produced in the country. We have a fairly large presence in British Columbia, mostly around the northeast BC, on the traditional territory of Treaty 8 First Nations. Our history as a company that's been around for 28 years has been focused on sustainable development. We believe in responsible and sustainable development of the resource, and our history indicates and showcases that. A big portion of, I guess, our focus on natural gas is because we believe in natural gas as an important energy source. It's an affordable and reliable source of energy, and BC is fortunate to have access to an abundance of world-class natural gas resource. So we are very proud to be a player in that space. As a natural gas producer, our long-term focus and energy is on working with our industry partners and Indigenous partners in terms of responsible development of this resource, and that's a very important part of the whole sustainability conversation. So two things comes to our strategy. Number one is obviously the emissions and emissions management. We want to make sure that we have one of the lowest emission intensity natural gas producers that the province or Canada in general can produce. We have a long history of electrification. I know this is the hot topic today, but we electrified our first facility back in 2011. So there's a long history of electrification that has resulted in reducing our emissions by a significant margin. And if I can speak to one element of that, was that would not have been possible without close collaboration between ARC and BC government and BC Hydro, which was instrumental in terms of achieving that result. So we definitely would like to see more of that happening to continue to reduce emissions. And the other part to that is engagement with Indigenous partners. We've had no doubt in the past that that's the way to do it. We've definitely engaged with the communities and the nations that have been present, and we have had the fortune of being able to work on their territories in terms of developing the resource, and that is going to continue to be an important part of our strategy of developing the asset going forwards. And I think I just want to close with that fact that we also have a fairly strong belief in the role of LNG and the ability to get the world-class BC natural gas resource to the world. And we definitely think that that's an opportunity for the province that we are definitely excited to be part of.
Thank you, Armin. Thank you. And Teresa Waddington is the Vice President of Corporate Affairs for LNG Canada, and she's bringing color to the panel on this January day, so thank you for that.
On that note, Todd, I'm going to start us with a haiku. There is no place I'd rather be than in Prince George in January.
Excellent.
But honestly, there's literally no other place I'd rather be than up on a panel with 4 other people representing Made in BC solutions to some of the critical issues that are facing all of us today. Things like climate change, energy security, and removing employment barriers, and so many more. And with LNG Canada, I'm representing a project that is now 90% complete. We are 90% complete, bringing Canada's first LNG export facility to life. And that project has been built by more than 30,000 Canadians. And I know, I've seen the signatures in Sharpies on the underside of pipes, inside the vessels, and all the other places where these Canadians are demonstrating their pride in being part of building and bringing an entirely new industry to Canada. The time is now, and we are almost there. It is remarkable. We are also we're also representing innovation in BC, in that our project represents a LNG facility that produces LNG at one of the lowest greenhouse gas facilities in the world today. 60% lower greenhouse gas intensity than the next best than the average Gulf Coast facility, and 35% better than the next best facility. That is a remarkable innovation, and it really demonstrates how Canada is at the forefront of delivering climate solutions and greenhouse gas, or less intense greenhouse gas energy in that whole suite of options that we are going to need as energy demand triples by 2050 across the globe. So that's a big deal. And finally, on energy security, Canada coming into the global market with LNG that comes from a peaceful, democratic government cannot be overstated as we start to look at geopolitics around the globe getting increasingly spicy. So I think as a Canadian, I'm incredibly proud to be representing such a huge change in the global shift and in representing an industry that is really coming to fruition in Canada. And so thank you to everyone in BC who's been part of our project and who will continue to be part of our project in the 40 years ahead of us. Thank you.
Thank you. That was great. Okay, we got some ground to cover here to have a great conversation. Maybe just, so the Center for Innovation in Clean Energy really focuses, so it's a collaboration. It was a collaboration created by Energy and Mines and Low Carbon Innovation, as well as the lead industry sponsor of Shell and supported by Natural Resources Canada. And we were established to help unlock BC innovation and action. So I'm looking at leaders of the energy mix today, and you're developing energy solutions today and thinking about how you evolve them for the future. And I look out at this room, and that's the value of engaging in forums like this. What do you need from a room like this to be able to do more in creating energy solutions that we need that are decarbonized and more benefits for BC, as well as Indigenous relationships that you engage in? What do you need more? What is the ask?
Okay, I got this. Regulatory certainty. I need long-term signals. I need the goalposts to stop moving, and I want an equal playing field. I don't want... I mean, these are obvious. I've been doing this for 10 years. But still, it still holds true. It's what keeps us from innovating is not knowing what the next government's going to do and if they're going to take it all back. And so something that would allow us to actually forecast and make a prediction and actually do the business case for it would be helpful. And this goes back to ensuring that certainty of investment, right? I talk about, we talk about carbon loss, right? Carbon leakage. We're actually in Canada seeing investment leakage, right? We're not even getting the investments into Canada.
Thanks.
I'm going to add to that a little bit. The number one thing I think we need is local policy that recognizes the global interconnectivity of climate. So there is no non-peeing end in our swimming pool. We can't clean up a small jurisdiction and expect it to have a global footprint. And within Canada and within BC, we represent a unique opportunity to materially change the overall intensity of greenhouse gas that is delivered in meeting the developing countries' needs, especially in Asia. And so I think just recognizing that global interconnectivity would be a massive step forward in how we can position both industrial development of export industries, but also in really materially shifting climate and the kind of imperative we have to support other countries in doing so.
Yeah, I think I'm going to double down a little bit on the certainty comment that Shannon made. I think it is really difficult. We're a regulated utility. Our job is to serve our customers and respond to policy here in British Columbia. And we're still making investments in things like renewable gas, and we need the market to be there to use that gas when it comes on stream and we go to deliver it to a customer. And so that's very, very important. At the same time as we need stability and certainty, we need to recognize that we're not at 2050 today. It's going to take some time to get there, and we need to give time for those innovations to develop and commercialize. One of the statistics that really kind of blew my mind when I was first considering it was it came from the IEA's net zero scenario, and it said that 50% of the emissions reductions that are required to get to net zero are going to come from technologies that are not even commercialized today. So the other factor to couple with the uncertainty is also innovation. Innovation is going to be incredibly important, and it's really important that we leave all the doors open so that we create platforms for innovation to deliver on the goals that we set in society around carbon emissions and energy and affordability and all those things. And so I take the gas system as an example. We see the gas system as a platform for innovation, a platform for affordable energy delivery, and that certainty and the ability to innovate is really kind of critical part of its future.
Well said, yeah.
Just briefly building up on the topic of innovation, I think one thing that we have often talked about is an expectation from the policymakers to make sure that policies are agnostic to the type of technology that they are going to be adopted or developed. I think it is important for us to leave the opportunity and the room for the innovators and technologists and engineers to figure things out, and we are not basically boxing them into some limited policy requirements that really shapes, I guess, or limits the ability for us to think critically and try to solve the problem. These are complex problems that we are trying to solve, and we have to keep all doors open, and I think the policy needs to really enable that.
Thanks, Armin. We missed a couple of applause breaks in there, but yeah, thank you for the innovation piece. And I mean, that's one of the many strengths of BC, but the entrepreneurial spirit and the amount of intellect and capacity to come up with the innovation, that's why we're proud to support that early stage, so industry can eventually adopt and scale that. It's not enough to just keep evolving technologies. We need them implemented in our hard-to-abate sectors so that we can all realize those decarbonization goals together. Just to my Whova helpers, we're not seeing the refreshed questions yet. We only see the hydro questions, which we're happy to answer for hydro, but that might be a little uncomfortable. So maybe I'll use another question on the stage. One of our beliefs at the Centre for Innovation and Clean Energy is that communities scale companies, especially in BC. So you think around procurement practices, you think around, it is, and we learned this from our portfolio. When you engage with the companies we've invested in, you learn how they start to work together to help each other scale, and it's truly inspiring. So with that theme, and again, you think of the reference to the RBOS project and Clay Kaitene and CAN4 and LTN contracting, that community that's helping to scale that. We've also invested in Deadwood Innovations that's working with Nakasley Development, and again, another example of communities scaling companies. It's those Indigenous partnerships that are, the value is immense to just get the capital efficiency of those investments out to economic return. And it's those relationships, those Indigenous-led relationships that are so paramount. What's your experience with partnerships and using the BC community to scale some of your solutions?
I'm going to jump on this one.
Okay, yes, your mic was already on.
It has been an incredible privilege to work so closely with Haisla and the other nations within our project area. And to give some hard numbers, so LNG Canada has awarded $3.3 billion worth of contracts to local and Indigenous companies and $4.2 billion in contracts to BC companies as part of our overall construction and our long-term operations. And this has really represented like a generational opportunity for local businesses to grow. We have incredible First Nations businesses embedded in all aspects of LNG Canada, from our construction to our maintenance to our operations. Like, we have seen a massive support from those nations and from those communities that have local people who are skilled and capable and so excited to be part of our industry and what we're doing. And I hope in some small way we have contributed to the incredible project that is Cedar LNG, to the fact that it will be the first Indigenous-owned business or LNG terminal to go forward. It's an amazing thing to see that flourish in the ecosystem that we're part of, and in a way that I hope we've laid some groundwork for. And I always consider it a privilege to see all these other LNG projects as they come up. Salism's is another one. We desperately need all of them. There is room for every single one of those, and then some, in how Canada can really contribute to the globe, in how Indigenous LNG can absolutely lead the way. It is really exciting.
Thanks, Teresa.
I'll just build on that. You know, our journey with Indigenous partnership and Indigenous reconciliation started pretty early for us. You know, as I mentioned at the outset, we cross 150 different traditional territories, and we invest in long-lived assets. And so it's really important to us to have those relationships, to engage meaningfully and have the support. Our first equity partnership occurred in 2011, 2012 with our Mount Hayes LNG facility, where together the Cowichan Tribes and Stamanis First Nation own 15% of that facility. It was an incredible success. Wasn't easy, but it would act as a springboard for us. You know, from there, our parent company took the model that we created and used that for the Watay-Nikitniat project, which is connecting about 17 different nations to the electrical grid in Northern Ontario, and partnering. It's an Indigenous-led project. Our parent company is a 49% owner, and the 24 Indigenous nations own the 51%. We built on that again, and in 2022, we announced an equity option partnership with the Musqueam. Really proud to be partnered with the Musqueam Indian Band, who are going to help us add value to our project. They're a great partner, and you know, really help us design and build a world-class LNG facility. So I would say, you know, that you know, community aspect, working with nations, from my perspective, really just adds a lot of value to the projects we're doing, and really a really important part of any successful project today.
We also have a very long history of collaboration with our Indigenous partners as we develop the Northeast BC natural gas resource. I think the key thing for us, and one of the biggest learnings we've had, is the importance of early and frequent engagement. That's something that is extremely important to the communities. It's important for us to engage them as part of the planning process and make sure that they have a voice at the table when it comes to planning these large infrastructure projects. But at the same time, like, we are balancing the impact and the benefits that comes to the communities, and that comes in multiple different ways. Obviously, the business opportunities, which is the true contributor to the business reconciliation, I think is an important factor to provide an opportunities for nations to participate in these projects, and we definitely believe that that's the way to go.
So we're completely different. We have 400 members from coast to coast to coast, and some of them are Indigenous-led businesses. You will not be successful in the propane industry unless you can partner with people, unless you can go into a community and listen and be there and, you know, provide them with what they need. So it's a very different concept, but still the same, which is ensuring that people really understand the energy that you're bringing forward, and they get to decide whether or not they want it in their communities.
Thank you. Okay, to your questions, and thank you for not only the questions, but the votes. Very helpful. So let's start off at the top. What do you think the largest opportunity outside of electrification is for the province when it comes to clean, sustainable energy? Or in combination with electrification? Panelists, what is the other big opportunity? Obviously, we need to decarbonize through electrification. That's excellent news for all of us. How do your businesses kind of integrate with that directive that we're headed?
Maybe I'll kick this one off. I think we're all going to have different opportunities here, given the different scopes of our companies. But for our utility, renewable natural gas is the greatest near-term opportunity that we see. So many advantages in that it's, today we can produce it. We have about 10% of our supply under contract, which occurred largely over the past 4 or 5 years. So it can come on quickly. There's a lot of projects under development, and we see that as forming a huge part of the near term. It blends in seamlessly into our system, so our customers don't have to really change anything in their households. The other opportunities for us, longer term on the fuel side of things, obviously hydrogen. We announced, or part of an announcement yesterday with the Teresa hydrogen project. We've got many other hydrogen irons in the fire that we're really excited about that will help provide a diversity of different fuels to customers. And really on the technology side, there's lots of really important opportunities on the technology side. I talked about energy efficiency and conservation earlier. That's still one of the lowest cost, biggest opportunities to use less energy to help customers save money and to drive down emissions. And there's some really exciting technologies like gas-fired heat pumps, raising the efficiency of gas combustion for heating by about 40 percentage points over where it is today. So those are incredible gains, and a lot of very promising technologies coming.
In all likelihood, I think the solutions in terms of getting to a pure, a clean and low emissions intensity natural gas in our mind comes from stacking a whole bunch of technical solutions. It's not going to be necessarily a specific solution. Obviously, electrification in the province of BC plays an important role because you have access to clean BC hydro, and that's really a renewable energy source that reduces truly the emissions of the cycle. But we need to also continue to invest in technology and innovation, as Doug talked about. I think at ARC, we've dedicated about $50 million to exploring all those opportunities. We just announced last week a partnership with Ekuna, that is a company that is developing hydrogen, and that's something that can potentially help us reduce the emissions associated with processing natural gas at our facility. So I think we need to keep the door open to a whole bunch of different type of opportunities, whether that's hydrogen, carbon capture, on top of electrification, to be able to get to that end goal.
Who knows how many LNG facilities there are on the west coast of North America? There's like one very small one in Alaska that barely exports anything. When I think of what the biggest opportunity is for the province of BC when it comes to clean, sustainable energy, it's in setting the standard for what is appropriate LNG, so that's lower greenhouse gas emission, Indigenous-led and Indigenous-supported, and it is opening up a gateway for export to Asian markets that is currently completely undeveloped. It's a remarkable change in the global flow of goods, and it allows Canada to play a key role as we see pinch points like the Panama Canal, issues with drought, all of the things that are going on in the world right now. The biggest opportunity for the province of BC is to set the standard for clean, sustainable energy, and then to open up a gateway that delivers it to the world in a completely different way.
Well said. Thank you. Let's go to energy storage. And mostly I want to engage in this conversation, hopefully, so we can meet more of our hydro friends tonight. But I think, Doug, you can jump in on this too a bit. So the importance of energy storage. The Center for Innovation is actually, we've invested in a number of companies involved in energy storage, really time duration energy storage. So, everyone, Hydro is grasping with, and Fortis and others are grasping with energy supply and demand forecasting. There's a whole middle section here on how we make smart capital choices, on how we employ energy storage, and the opportunity for BC innovators, BC intellectual property around those solutions is immense. So time duration, less than a minute, whether it be supercapacitor companies, whether it be pump storage, pumped hydro, different types of storage. There's immense opportunity there. We'll be coming out with more of a think pieces and inviting innovation and investing in it the rest of this year. But I wonder from your perspective, Doug, around energy storage, what role do you see that playing in the energy system of the future and the opportunity that there is for BC?
Yeah, it's absolutely critical, and the reason is that look at our climate, right? Like you don't have to roll back too far into last week to see how cold it got here. And we saw record consumption from customers on energy across FortisBC's gas system, BC Hydro's electric system. And you know, it's really important. We don't use energy on a constant level basis throughout the year. We have significant winter peaks because we're in a cold climate. And so energy storage has always played a really critical role in British Columbia. You know, whether it's underground geological storage for natural gas in the form of LNG or line pack in our pipelines, that's really important to meeting that winter demand and the peaks, both during the intraday and seasonally. You know, as we electrify more aspects of our economy, I think storage, the importance of storage, absolutely will increase. And you know, it's actually very difficult to store energy in the form of an electron today, and it's, you know, there's a lot of innovation going on to extend the duration, to lower the costs of doing so. But the fact is that it is pretty hard, and there are still some pretty neat technologies out there, batteries and others, that are going to help us manage some of those peaks. But the thing that I worry about most is the seasonal part. And so this is where it's not necessarily the storage itself, but the bridges between gas and electric systems, where on one system you have vast quantities of low-cost storage, and on the other you might not have as many opportunities, that we need to find a bridge between those. And so when we look into the future, we see hydrogen as a bridge on the fuel end. It can be produced at times when there's excess electricity, and it can be consumed and turned back into electricity at times where it's needed. On the end use end, at the same time, we can think very carefully about the technologies we use. So one of the areas we're investing heavily in piloting right now is hybrid energy systems, where we can use the properties of the storage and deliverability of the gas system to meet those cold winter peaks, but also use the efficiency of the electric system and electric heat pumps during those shoulder seasons where they perform the best. And it helps level out the energy supply, but also leverage both systems for what they're good at.
So I would build on that. We're already doing that with propane. So when it comes to rural and remote locations, we've developed relationships where we've been able to basically do backup to a renewable energy grid, right? So when your renewable energy is unable to run, you've got propane. And the beauty of propane, as with natural gas, is it can sit there for decades. So you've got this stored energy. You know, especially if you're in a community that's really far away from an electricity line, you've got that stored energy there for when you need it. And you don't have to worry about it going bad. You don't have to worry about your equipment getting dirty, because it's a clean energy when it gets burned.
Okay, excellent. Well, just as we predicted, we're running down on time. So we'll invite each panelist to just provide some closing remarks. And because Teresa energized us with her haiku, we're going to start with her. Teresa.
I wish I had a haiku for closing, but I don't think I quite managed to pull that off. I think my big takeaway from listening to all the panelists here today, and from hearing Premier Eby's remarks at the start of the session, really, we are in the same place. We want the same things. We see a really compatible path with both the development of cleaner energy industries within BC and with making sure that we continue to achieve climate goals and to support our overall direction there, as well as obviously with Indigenous ownership rights and support. I think that there is a lot of innovation occurring, and I'm thrilled to be part of it. And I'm extremely excited, as I said before, for LNG Canada to really pave the way when we finally do start shipping cargoes.
Thank you, Teresa.
Yeah, I think from my perspective, I think we have to acknowledge and understand that we are navigating through very difficult, times in terms of managing and finding solutions. But at the same time, there's a lot of excitement that comes with that, and the excitement of trying to solve the complex problem. At the same time, I believe it's very important for us to acknowledge that, like the energy sector in BC is a very important sector to the province. It's a source of lots of well-paying jobs for a lot of hardworking families, and the energy that is produced by the sector makes a huge difference in the quality of the life of British Columbians and First Nations. It contributes significant amount of revenue to the province through the taxes and royalties, and those are the type of fundings that is needed for the province to invest in innovation, in technology, in building infrastructure and the social programs. So I think that should be part of the conversation around sustainability, because without that, sustainability has no meaning.
Thanks, Armin. Shannon?
Yeah, so I'm going to admit something, and I'm hoping you don't judge me on it, but I'm from Ottawa. When I'm in Ottawa and I'm dealing with the government, I'm not going to lie, it's adversarial. No matter how charming I try to be, no matter how sincere I try to be, and I do try, I really do, it's really hard to get to solutions where we're really happy. And it's been really interesting to be here in BC and see this collaboration from Indigenous communities and governments and from industry itself and all the people in here, and actually working together towards solutions. And so I think my final word is, like, keep this going. This is amazing, this partnership, this working together, and this drive to want to find solutions where everybody gets to win.
Thanks, Shannon. Doug? Yeah, we'll take applause breaks.
I think for me, when I think about the energy industry and the time that we're in, I think it is the absolute best time to be working in the energy industry. This is a place where a difference needs to be made and is being made. We've got lots of examples up on the panel today of that. And I think I would sort of steal a little bit from Cynthia Hansen and Minister Osborne about the action, right? We've taken lots of actions and things are happening, and it's really rewarding to see those efforts result in lower emissions, result in the types of outcomes we're seeking on energy, affordability, reliability, resiliency, those things. So to me, I think the action is really exciting.
Thanks, Doug. Yeah, I couldn't echo that more on the need to act and learn from acting. Strategies and plans, and the time is now. This is the energy of this room wants to see progress and action and learning from it. And the energy mix of the future, I mean, there's not absolute certainty, but what we can all be confident is there's immense opportunity for this province, for all the leaders in this room, and that's what's important for us to keep working together to get right. And we know we have support of the government. We've heard that today, and it's important for us as industry leaders to keep supporting one another, to keep highlighting what BC can bring to not only BC but the world. So thank you all for the time. It was I learned a lot. It was a great panel. Hopefully everyone enjoyed, and look forward to continuing to engage in the rest of the forum. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. That was a very informative panel. So on behalf of the Forum Advisory Committee, I really want to sincerely thank Teresa, Armin, Shannon, Doug, and Todd for putting together such a great conversation to leave us with today. So before you leave the stage, I do have a small gift for you. But now I'm going to dismiss everyone so we can get one last coffee break in, because I know you need more coffee. Please do visit the trade show, but then be back here at 3:55, because we have a really exciting way to end the afternoon, both with CN's Matthew McLaren's keynote and a really insightful discussion coming up on BC exports. So please take a moment to relax, and we'll see you back here. Thanks very much.